Yo, 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 what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Macro Mondays. I'm looking at some longs, especially for Ethereum, looking at a swing long. Yeah, massive news, guys. Friday was insane. Luckily, we had a few shorts on the table. I think about 4 or 5 shorts. We obviously took profits on the way down. Absolutely wild. But it gets stuck into at the moment. I do see, the market's looking kind of bullish. It's tough to be bearish after a massive liquidation like that. So let's get straight into it over here quickly with Bitcoin. And what you can see, obviously a massive, candle over here. I don't think we've seen a candle like this. $20,000 candle to the downside. It's enormous, guys. That's enormous. It's obviously abnormal. And the data agrees with us. I'm sure you guys have heard it, so we don't have to go into this. But the liquidations that we saw, they were insane. I'm just gonna try and find this liquidation data. It's never seen anything like that, obviously. And it's the previous liquidations that we looked for turning points were at that $2 billion liquidation, and we did see that $18 billion liquidation. So that is a huge turning point, guys. And this is what we normally do with big turning points. We absolutely nailed this August low over here, and this is what it kind of reminds me of. So what we're going to do today is just look at the high probability trades where we can enter some longs. I do see Ethereum going up to this all-time high level at this 5K zone, but we're going to have to get a good entry on that because it seems it's going to chop around for a bit. So we're going to have a look on the daily time frame, and then also go into the weekly and then the 4-hour time frame as well. So let's just start off with Bitcoin on the daily. So obviously massive wick, which we spoke about now, and what you normally do, or what I normally do in times like this, is I would take this huge wick to the downside. I would mark off that 50% of the wick zone over here, bang. And this is where I would be looking to basically get into a long. It seems like price is running away from us, but that is always the feeling. That is always the feeling that we do get in times like these. So this is the zone. This is the 50% of the wick over here. 50 wick right over there. Let's make that yellow. So if we do revisit this area over here, it's going to be a massive buying opportunity, and it would look kind of similar to what happened in August 2024. Let's see if this did actually hit. So what it left was basically like a good part of the wick does get filled. And if we do go to the 4-hour time frame, I'll show you then as well. So look at this wick, did get filled. Maybe it didn't come to the 50%, but I'll show you guys on the 4-hour time frame what I'm talking about. So let's just get back into this. So basically, this is where I'd be looking for long. So what you can see for Bitcoin now is it did dump through, and it did close 1, 2, now 3 daily candles underneath the 50-day EMA. Okay, 50-day EMA coming at 115.6. To make this more clear for you guys, we're going to put on the line chart. Okay, so basically, it takes all that massive volatility out. What you can see here, guys, is that we are starting to close below the 50-day EMA, and we are below the zone over here. So it's very important to also just turn on the line chart in zones like this. So this is what I would call resistance. So we're going to flip this into red. We haven't actually updated this, so we turn that into red over here. So this is going to be your zone where you can be looking for shorts, very valid shorts over here. We would expect to reject here and maybe come down to this 200-day EMA zone over here, which lines up nicely with that 50% of the wick. So that's what I'm looking for Bitcoin. Obviously, we took all the liquidity. We took out, whoever had their stops below this low over here. We literally came to visit price that we last saw over 100 days ago. Very, very fair. Okay. So this is what I got for Bitcoin over there. It looks like we did break this, came underneath here. It looked a bit scary. We are above this trend line over here, but most importantly for me is going to be the strong horizontal over here at that 117K zone over there. and the 50-day EMA. So we can extend this box all the way to the 50-day EMA, bang, right over there. And this is going to be your resistance, guys. You can short the zone. You can short the zone. We obviously lost the level quite fast, so price can easily come straight through here as well. So this is why I'm not looking for shorts in the zone over here, but you can short resistance. That does make perfect sense. Okay, so that's Bitcoin at the moment. We're gonna go over everything quickly, guys. Let's go over Ethereum quickly. So Ethereum over here, same kind of situation where, you know, there is this massive resistance over here. Boom, lines up nicely with the 50-day EMA. We put on that 50% of the wick as well, and that 50% of the wick comes in at that 3,580 zone. Okay, 50% of the wick, and that lines up nicely with the 200-day EMA. So this is the buy zone for you know, ETH if you are playing the 50% wick full, something like that. Right over there. I'm going to go, the 4-hour time frame is even better, so we are going to go into that. I'm actually going to go into the 4-hour time frame now, and then we're going to have a look at stuff like MicroStrategy, because MicroStrategy does look quite scary. Gold's obviously absolutely boosting over here. So this is the playbook for ETH. This is the playbook. This is what I've got over here. So it's on the 4-hour time frame. So here we go. Massive, massive, massive volume candle over there, obviously lining up with that major liquidation event. That 50% of the wick comes in at this 3,565 zone over there. So this is going to be the bottom of the range. We are going to be buying the zone over here. And I've got the zone over here. This was the previous low over here. So you often do see that it could visit the zone again. And that is obviously lines up nicely with this big breakout zone. And normally what you see when you get these big breakout zones, it will come and revisit it. So everyone that, you know, went long over here with their, basically everyone who took this trade, I mean, you know, why would you not take this trade? Everyone who took this trade, people are maybe like going to get greedy. This is normally how it works. And I've been in this boat before. You know, people get greedy for this 5-to-1 risk to reward trade, something like this. So this is what people have in mind. This is what they want. So they've now taken that breakout long with their stop over here, and they think that this is going all the way to $5,000. Okay, decent risk reward of 4.8-to-1. So now these people are most likely going to get taken out before we see that. That's just always what happens, guys. Could I be wrong? Yes. Where's my invalidation point? Well, if we push through the EMA cluster, take out this high over here, start to consolidate here, then I'm going to say I'm wrong, and then we are going to that 5K zone. Price action like this, then I'm very happy to be wrong, and then I'll be taking this trade over here to that 5K. But the most likely scenario, in my opinion, is going to be a visit of this major box over here. So it's going to be coming down, and those traders with high leverage, of course, at this 3,875 zone, these people are going to come back to break even, as the trade's not going to be looking so good, and they're probably going to bail. And then potentially the people who leave their stops in there, they are probably going to buy back the zone over here, stops over here. They're going to be buying back, forming that low over here. So this is my ETH long setup, guys. Let me know if that made sense. If it didn't make sense, I'm happy to explain it again. So this is my idea. You know, I do see ETH struggling. You know, it came straight back to this 54-hour EMA over here. This was a massive resistance, very obvious resistance zone. If, you know, price did come back in there, very, very fair to short this zone, something like this. I think Boris has a short. You know, something like that, stops over there, and then just come back down to this break zone over here. If you're into scalp trading, you can take this trade if you are into scalp trading. If you're not, then, you know, if you're into swing trading, then we can just wait for this perfect setup. And this is going to be a good setup in my opinion. So this is the ETH trade. I'm looking to get into ETH between basically 3,900 and 3,600. This would be my buy zone for Ethereum. And, you know, price might come down here and hold around here and start to look really bearish and scary, and that's going to be the perfect buy zone. Now, one thing I want to speak about quickly on the daily time frame, this obviously lines up there, the previous analysis, is ETH BTC, guys. So ETH BTC, before this crash, I said that we're going to come down to this 200-day EMA, and this is going to be the ultimate long opportunity, basically to swap your Satoshis for some ETH over there. And I personally didn't manage to get into this. Things happened very fast. I was more interested in taking profits on the shorts than taking the ETH BTC trade, and obviously looking quite scary. The exchanges weren't working, you name it. So this trade didn't get taken. You only had like a split second of the opportunity to get in. But this has played out basically. We did come into the green box over there. So I think we could get one more sweep into this. Potentially would be nice to come to the zone over here. And this is going to be a awesome buying opportunity for, ETH BTC. This should line up. I think if ETH does come into this zone over here, if this does come into the zone over here, you will most likely see that ETH BTC, sorry, it's on this chart up here, will come back into the 0.0324. So this is what I'm looking at, guys, and this is what I've got lined up for you guys is ETH BTC on the weekly time frame. Guys, this looks really good. So we are getting some kind of golden cross over here. So what's the golden cross? Well, of course, on the weekly time frame, it only works on the weekly. We use the 21 and the 50. Okay, of course, it's weekly, so it takes a bit longer. So we do have to be a little bit more aggressive. And what you can see is we do have the golden cross of ETH BTC right over here. And we've been coming down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 weeks. Are we going to get a TD sequential 9 count? Maybe next week we come into the zone over here. I'm not sure, but I think this is looking really good for a buy opportunity. Will we come down to the 50% as well? Always on the cards, guys. So the 0.03 over here, very much on the cards. So this would be the perfect scenario over here. Things start to look really scary, and then reclaim, and then A for away. And then, will we get that huge alt move like we saw last time? Last time we had the golden cross was June 22. And we saw a monstrous move. Over there. So, will we see that again? Or will we break through and chop around? Who knows, guys? Who knows? But I do think we will at least be visiting the 0.05 level. And that is, of course, the halfway point from this top over here to the bottom, that halfway point coming in at that 0.053 zone. So this is where, you can be taking longs on ETH, guys. ETH longs over there. It's looking really good. Maybe sweep this liquidity. That would be the ultimate trade, something like this. Sweep the liquidity, get in, huge trade up there. Yeah, that's ETH, guys. That's ETH at the moment. But hopefully coming back into our perfect buy zone over here. Okay, let's get back on the daily time frame, go into Bitcoin dominance. Obviously a ridiculous candle on Friday, fair enough. If you survived Friday, yeah, hats off to everyone who survived Friday. Personally, I did survive Friday quite comfortably. So yeah, not too, but it was upsetting. It was pretty bleak seeing, projects like Casper on the floor. Basically it went to zero, then stood up again. I mean, in one day, guys, this is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Wow. Yeah, stuff like Ondo, sure. I was even too scared to buy in the zone over here. I don't know why. Okay, USDT dominance quickly. So this came and rejected off that 50% level. Not that it really matters during those catastrophic events, but it did then, now from yesterday, it did close below this range high, which we spoke about So let's just get rid of that quickly. So, you know, is this where price is going to consolidate? We could easily see a consolidation in the zone over here, maybe even this zone over here. So who knows what's going to happen, guys? To get bullish again, we'd want to see it underneath these EMAs. For now, we're probably going to chop in the zone over here. Yeah, so not too much, conclusive evidence over here. This was a potential deviation pattern. We've seen 1 deviation, 2 deviations. So, it's most likely, you don't get a bigger deviation usually. So this could be where price consolidates. I would not be getting bullish now. If we get below these imported EMAs, then I'd be getting bullish. But for now, you can't be bullish now. We could easily go and retest the 50% level of this over here. So, that 5% very much on the cards for another retest. Very much on the cards. Otherwise, there isn't too much more to go on about. Of course, stuff got smashed. Just looking at this stuff. Wow. On the floor. I'd be sticking to blue chips, guys. Blue chips for sure. Even Sui. Wow. 55-cent Sui. Ridiculous. Anyone who, from over a year, these people almost got liquidated. Took all the leverage off the table. But yeah, that is life. That is life. Chainlink still holding up quite nicely there. It was ridiculous to see an $8 Chainlink. But yeah, reclaim the 200-day EMA. I'm still long-term bullish on this. Yeah, but something like this is sad. Basically, it saw the lowest price it's seen since basically when it broke out of that huge accumulation zone. It's absolutely wild. Okay, let's get into the macros quickly. Dollar kind of playing ball over here, showing a bit more strength. I think we are definitely going to see this 200-day EMA get tagged. So yeah, I'd be waiting for the dollar to tag the 200-day EMA, for prices to hit that 50% of the wick zone before going long, guys. So you can definitely be patient. You're not going to miss the move. If you do, it is what it is. But the high probability play, the play that we are trying to make every time and sit on our hands, is the safe play. It is the play that's, maybe we do miss the huge move if it happens. Unlikely that it does happen though. But let's see. DXY, I still think we're going to hit 100. I think we're going to tag this 200-day EMA, probably grab all the liquidity from here. Who knows how bad it can get. We can even retest this trend line over here. So yeah, watch out for that for sure. We did see bullish divergence here though, guys, as well. So typical bottom triple bullish divergence over there. But this is a range low, which should be resistance. So we can either see like a move into this 200-day EMA, which lines up with the range low, and then reject for a blow off top in assets, or we could see a reclaim, something like this. This will be looking a little bit more scary for assets. So let's see, guys. It is at the the decision point. It is at the zone where the decision should be made sooner than later. Otherwise, NASDAQ looking like it's just shaking it off. Nice bounce off the 50-day EMA. 50-day EMA is just so epic here. Like right over there, bang, strong bounce over here, bang. There's so many times where you get that strong bounce off the 50-day EMA and that strong bull run. So yeah, could easily get a bounce. Who knows? Nice candle that I haven't seen anything like that in a while. VIX also coming down. This hasn't got to these zones over here, so maybe the low isn't in yet for the volatility. The low is normally in when you see these, huge candles over there. So this is nothing yet for a low. But let's see. So the main things to look at the moment is actually going to be something like MicroStrategy. So this isn't looking hot, guys. MicroStrategy is not looking hot. We've had the blow off top. We've had that, kind of bounce over here, but isn't as, momentum full as the rest. And let's actually just pull this thing apart. So 50%, we are in the lower half. It is a blow off top though. So what I can see here for MicroStrategy, of course, this is a huge support. So we have to treat support as support. But it is below the important EMAs, guys. And this is looking like it's going to be an inevitable death cross over here for MicroStrategy, which is not ideal, guys. This has obviously been in a bullish cross. This is why we like to trade the bull cross, guys. Bull cross. This has been in a bull cross since April 23. This was worth like under $30, and it went all the way to $500. So a huge trade there for MicroStrategy. Now looks like it is going to get that death cross again, and we can actually look at the last time it got that death cross, and it looks really similar. Looks really similar to what happened last time. Blow off move, complacency bounce. Maybe it's going to grind sideways a bit. Who knows? But remember that it does peak early. So this peak was in Feb 21, and we saw the top in November 21. This top was in November. So, maybe the top is in. I'd say the top's in for MicroStrategy for sure, but how that's going to affect Bitcoin, uncertain. But this is looking bearish. I'd say this is looking bearish, guys, not bullish. MicroStrategy is not looking bullish. Okay, important question there. What is MicroStrategy relation with crypto? Well, MicroStrategy, of course, buys millions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. It's Michael Saylor's company, MicroStrategy. So their whole strategy is basically to leverage long Bitcoin. So, this is an institutional buy on Bitcoin, technically. So this going down is not a good sign, right? It means that institutions are maybe taking profits or selling MicroStrategy. What's also important to note is the top, how it came before the top of Bitcoin. So we had the blow off top and that complacency bounce before getting that death cross. And remember, guys, the death cross on MicroStrategy, the top was in for Bitcoin in this area over here. Just note this, guys. The top was in for Bitcoin when MicroStrategy got the death cross. So, let's just pull this up quickly. Daily time frame. So Bitcoin top was November 2021. MicroStrategy death cross was Jan 22. So basically, Bitcoin topped over here. This was the Bitcoin high, this high over here. So, interesting to note that lower high in MicroStrategy relative to Bitcoin. That's obviously a bearish divergence, right? If this is a leveraged play on Bitcoin and it's a lower high, it's a bearish divergence. So we basically have a very similar thing here where, July wasn't the top. This could actually be the top over here. I'm not saying the top is in, but let's just get the date. Okay, 6th of October. Okay, so this is the 6th of October over here. Obviously a serious divergence as well. Okay, so obviously making a lower high over there, whilst Bitcoin made a higher high. And yeah, interesting, guys. Remember, MicroStrategy crossed. When MicroStrategy had the death cross, the top was in. So MicroStrategy death cross, top was in. The top was in, bang, over here. MicroStrategy got the death cross. And that was basically like 2 months. 2 months over there. So I haven't actually looked into this at all, guys. So I'm just having a look at, you know, you got to be the devil's advocate here. I still think ETH has a good chance of hitting 5K though. Would I be going long on Bitcoin and DCAing into Bitcoin? No, I wouldn't. Definitely not. I think 2026 is going to be a bear market for Bitcoin. And remember, guys, you know, what did Bitcoin dip last time? Bitcoin went down 77%. So, you know, if we had to pull 77% off Bitcoin from the top, 31K, you know, most likely not going to happen. But just remember, guys, anything can happen in crypto. So, you know, can Bitcoin go to 40K? 100%. Can definitely go to 40K. That 70% is at your 30K over there. So, you know, can we come into this level over here? I don't know. I think we'll at least see a 50% pullback on Bitcoin, taking it to like that 60K zone. So, I mean, this is what you can expect next year. You know, the quarter four hasn't really picked off yet or, you know, ripped. So there is still room for an upside move. So I wouldn't get bearish yet, but if MicroStrategy gives us the death cross, that's going to be not a great signal for me. And it currently is underneath price. This is starting to close quickly. You know, gotta watch out. So let's have a look at Coinbase as well. Coinbase looking a lot stronger. Coinbase also tops with the crypto market over there. Here's like a death cross scene. Not too much on Coinbase, above all the important EMAs. Yeah, that's kind of the TA for today, guys. Definitely, you know, psyched on the ETH trade on the 4-hour time frame though. So let's just pull this up again. This is the trade I'm looking for, guys. This is the trade. 3.9 to 3.6. This is the trade I'd be looking for, guys. It's going to line up ETH BTC. I will be calling the trade live as well. I'd be going big on this position as well. You know, if we get the full box filled, it looks something like this. Bang. I wouldn't even put a stop loss. I would just buy. Something like that. You know, 3-to-1 risk to reward. So you can actually take this. Will this get hunted? It might get hunted. So who knows? You want to be safe in this trade. If you start to close candles underneath, yes, by all means, get out of the position. But you do want to be, you know, if you get a quick wick again, you don't want to be that guy who gets, who passes their Ethereum to the whales, just like everyone else passed their Ethereum to the whales on this dip over here. This is the ultimate trade, guys. And who knows how far ETH goes? ETH can go all the way to like 7.5. It can. It really can, guys. Who knows with crypto trading? So if you can get into this long, obviously, guys, this is very ambitious, extremely ambitious over here. You know, we'd be taking profits on the way. Okay, we're not going to be silly over here. All-time high, we will be selling probably half of the pack, like half of the bag, easily half of the bag over there. And then, you know, this looks like quite a classic range. So you could get a breakout of that level over there. Bang. And then, you know, maybe a moon bag, 7.5. So this is the kind of trade that we're looking at the moment. TP1, TP2, and then a cheeky moon bag. Something like that. Something ridiculous, you know. But the main trade would be something like that, which is a 5-to-1 risk to reward. And it's a 3-to-1 risk to reward to all-time highs. So this is a good trade, guys. This is the trade I'd be taking. And this is a semi-conservative trade where you'd be entering from 3.9 to 3.6 average entry. Yes, you can build your triangle entry where you go more heavy at the bottom and small trades at the top. But what you don't want at this point of the cycle is to get that runaway quick dip in there. Then you get like 5% filled on the position instead of 10%, and then this thing just keeps going. So that's what you don't want to see. So guys, that is the trade setup. You know, I think we're going to get rejected off this EMA over here. If we consolidate above, I've explained it in the video. If you want the in-depth analysis, just go back in the video. Forex, let's have a look. So we do have PPI coming out on Thursday. Fed Chair Powell speaks tomorrow. Definitely watch out for that one. Otherwise, guys, please stay safe out there. Don't forget about the ETH BTC on the weekly time frame as well. It's looking good. But guys, we'll catch you later this week. Cheers for now. Thanks for the live stream.